Welcome to the Care Right podcast, your go-to resource for all things elder care. Guiding us through this journey is Annalee Kruger, the founder of Care Right Incorporated, and she has been steadfastly supporting families across the United States. Each episode brings you expert insights, innovative strategies, and practical advice, ensuring that you're well equipped to provide the best possible care for your loved ones. Expect to gain valuable knowledge, learn from real-life stories, and get inspired to take action in your own caregiving journey. So buckle up as we dive into an in-depth discussion of elder care planning and together embrace the journey of caring for aging loved ones on the Care Right podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Annalee Kruger. I'm the owner of Care Right Incorporated. We are a senior and family caregiver consultancy working with families all across the country in developing what we call customized aging plans. For families that want us to facilitate their family meetings and find out what's working well, what's not working well, what are your goals, like aging in place at home? What's the plan if aging in place at home is no longer safe or feasible or affordable? Where does it make sense for mom and dad to move or to receive the care that they need if they had to move into like a care community type setting? We also go through checklists to make sure that our clients have their affairs in order, their accounts, their passwords, their living wills, their power of attorneys, and we communicate with our clients. We facilitate those family meetings so that if or when dad has a stroke or mom breaks her hip and she's the caregiver to dad with dementia, the family's not left scrambling, trying to go like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? Having to jump on airplanes or take 2 or 3 weeks off work because there's crisis after crisis. Most families find that very uncomfortable to constantly find themselves in crisis and wonder what to do. So as you know, for those that typically listen to the Caregiver Crisis, the name of my podcast, I get really cool guest speakers to come in and we talk about just kind of what we see out there in the world and services that are available to families across the country or in certain locations of the country. So today I'm really excited to introduce Narrin Schwartz, the owner of the 25th Hour Concierge Service in Rockaway, New Jersey. Welcome, Narrin. How are you?
Hi, Annalee. Great. How are you? Great to see you. Woohoo!
Woohoo! So let me introduce this like exciting, fun guest. First of all, Narrin and I are friends. We met at a business networking group because he is like the king of networking. So even though Narrin is up in New Jersey, he has connections to down here in Southwest Florida. And so we met a long time ago, 8-9 years ago, maybe, here in Florida, because I was also down here at a networking. I was down here as well. And one of our mutual friends connected us and they're like, oh, you guys need to connect. And it was such a good connection because we developed a friendship over this connection that we have. And so Narrin, you do amazing work. Like I said, you're the king of networking. Let me just read through or share what amazing things you do and how cool you really are so that people can.
Absolutely, Annalee. And ditto.
This is going to be a high energy podcast because Narrin and I are like two little kids. We just like feed off of each other's energy in a good way.
Oh, yes.
So Narrin lives in Rockaway, New Jersey, which is 35 miles west of New York City. Narrin started his company, which is, again, the 25th Hour Concierge Service in 2008, and he has never turned back from his time in corporate America. Ditto to that. The best thing I ever did was leave corporate America in 2011 and start my own business. That is Absolutely. The best thing I've ever done.
Nothing like being in charge of your own hours.
That, but also helping more people instead of just the little group of people that I was exposed to, little group of families that I was exposed to as a social worker, administrator in long-term care. So best thing I ever did. I agree with you. Leave corporate America. So Narrin took over his company, the 25th Hour Concierge Service, from his father, Alvin Schwartz of Rockaway, New Jersey, at the time, and currently lives in Estero, Florida, which is down here where I live, which is Southwest Florida. Hence Narrin's connections to here in Southwest Florida, which is how we met. Narrin enjoys fishing and trips to the Pocono Mountains and loves to network. Narrin has been told by his clients that he is their Jewish angel, and he's been told that he's been called a Jewish angel all the way to being called Batman or named Batman, because that's the value that Narrin brings to the table when he works with his clients. So Narrin, for those that don't know what the 25th Hour Concierge Service, what is that? What do you do?
So the 25th Hour Concierge Service helps families, business professionals put time back in their lives, hence 25th Hour Concierge Service. There's only 24 hours in a day. It really comes down to our lives are extremely busy. Times are really wonky in this environment, and for the most part, people run out of time doing their errands, chores, runabouts, spending time helping mom or dad, auntie or uncle, and out of realizing there is a need. The 25th Hour Concierge Service, I recognize that there is a need for helping families with aging loved ones. And that is really our wheelhouse, is helping families with aging loved ones bridge that gap of time so that when son or daughter wants to spend time with mom, dad, aunt, uncle, they're spending pure golden time together, good quality time together, instead of doing their errands, chores, runabouts, schlepping here, going there. And that's what the 25th Hour Concierge Service is all about, is helping people put time back in their lives. And we're passionate about helping families with aging loved ones.
And get their lives back on track. Because
Yes.
I know, my clients are, the people that come to me are typically burned out family caregivers. My whole mission when I built my business, Care Right, in 2011 was to help families say, let's talk about the what ifs of aging sooner rather than later. Let's not wait until we're in crisis mode to then get together and figure out, okay, what are our options, or what are mom and dad's options? Because if there's a crisis, mom and dad usually don't get to be a part of the decision making because they're in the hospital, or they had a stroke, or their dementia progressed, or whatever has happened. Mom and dad don't get a choice because they're not able to, because the sad thing is they didn't plan ahead. So now the kids are the ones having to make big decisions for their parents. And I'm here to tell you, most families don't talk about the what ifs of aging kind of until they're forced into it, which is triggered by a medical crisis. And I can tell you, my clients, the sons and the daughters that call me for an aging plan to say, look, what we've realized what we're doing is not sustainable for our health, our careers, our family, our finances, our relationships with my siblings or my parents. A lot of my sons and daughters are every month, they're flying on a plane to go check on mom and dad, or mom and dad are back in the hospital, or so forth. And it's exhausting. Or they're just worried that, okay, did mom get any food? Did she get to the grocery store? Did she fall? Or how am I supposed to get her to all of these different doctor's appointments? And it's exhausting. It can be very exhausting if you don't have an aging plan. And that means if you don't have enough supports in place. Caregiving to aging parents can be a full-time job depending on how sick they are and what their needs are. And that's where you can come in as a resource for these families. We know that the typical family caregiver spends 24 or 25 hours a week tending to the needs of one parent or their parent. And that's where, again, you come in with, I know what you do. You help with scheduling appointments, you get them to their appointments, you walk their dogs. Let's talk about our pet for a second. One of the biggest things that clients worry about when they're in the hospital and they have a pet is who's going to take care of Fluffy. you know?
Exactly.
Who's going to water my plants? Who's going to check my mail?
Exactly. And the type of request that my services gets is just that, is, my son lives in Philadelphia. My daughter lives in Los Angeles. I'm in the hospital. Exactly what you said. Fluffy's home alone. The fish aren't fed. Who's gonna pick the cucumbers from the gardens? And that is what's really important for the aging loved one at that time. And exactly, that is where the 25th hour concierge service can come in and coordinate different things with the family, while I'm making sure that the aging loved one has peace of mind, so that they are not worrying about Fluffy, the fish,
the refrigerator that they just got all these groceries, and now mom's going to be in the hospital and in rehab for 6 weeks because she had a major stroke. I can tell you, kids don't want to have to fly to mom's house and then open up that refrigerator door and then gag because there's 2 months of spoiled milk and spoiled food. So, I mean, literally everything you do adds time back into the family's life, decreases the need to have to worry because you have things handled. But moms and dads are like, I've got Narrin on my team, so I don't need to worry about any of this stuff because you take care of it. And whatever it is you might not be able to handle, you have people in your network to help take care of that, which is cool.
Absolutely. When you're talking about, a family member coming and opening up a refrigerator door, after a month or 2 months, because they know that, mom or dad or family members in the hospital, and, when they get there, they're eventually getting there, but then to realize what's going on in the household, our services can have that all handled, managed, rotated, cleaned out, and then pull in resources as needed. And that is what that's where networking comes into play, because I've developed a
robust,
old-fashioned Rolodex. We don't use that word anymore. Rolodex.
That's okay. The people that listen to these podcasts, they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Of resources. And the way that I've developed my relationships with resources is when I call, they pick up the phone. I don't get a voicemail. I don't get a call 24 hours later. My relationships that I build with senior care agencies, geriatric care managers, resource like Annalee Kruger of Care Right Incorporated. When I call, they know I have a need, and as a concierge, my clients expect at your service. So I take it to another level and going above and beyond and develop those relationships so that I can have a resource call that family within moments.
And that's the value of working with concierge, because you're a concierge, I'm a concierge. You don't only just get you get your entire network.
Exactly.
Right? Because we can't handle every single need that our clients have, but we know people who can. So
yes. Now,
that sure beats having to Google, Google stuff in mom and dad's area. It's like, no, you leverage the professional that you're hiring to take care of these things, and we'll find the people that you need to add or that we need to add to the team so that everyone has the best possible outcomes.
I'd like to share an example. It was actually a testimonial in a networking event that I was in the other day. And it was a friend of mine that was searching for a puppy, okay, here's Narrin going in a really crazy direction. Someone looking for a golden doodle. And so first she put it out on Facebook, And I immediately private messaged her. I said, listen, I have like 4 contacts. Immediately, you say my name, they will pick up the phone and they will
Yeah.
answer. And she's like, how do you know these people? I said, trust me, just call. So within a day, she was able to source what she was looking for, specific color, gender.
Yeah.
And then at the networking event, we're talking privately. She goes, Narrin, I'm looking for a trainer. Do you know of a trainer? I said, absolutely. Hold on one second.
Of course you do.
Yeah. She goes, of course you do. She goes, all right, you are a walking resource.
Yeah.
I said, yes, I am, because I've spent years developing relationships that when I refer someone to my referral partner, they know to pick up the phone, because it is really, really, really important. And she's like, Narrin, you are amazing that you just went into your phone and you dropped the contact into my phone. And within an hour, I've made contact with her. And now I have arranged for a puppy to be trained.
Yep.
But that's how our services work, is that because of our deep contact list and my group and my referral partners and the relationships that I built, that's what I provide to families with aging loved ones. Because yes, as you shared, we can't do everything. And the 25th hour concierge service, we're also a service that is non-medical.
Right.
So we do everything that is non-medical, but we are a complete support function to the families and the aging loved ones that brings value in putting time back in one's life, which is purely priceless.
That is priceless. And I just, for those listening, I can't stress enough that when you're working with a professional that has spent literally years building your network of professionals to help with your clients' needs, that's priceless. Because we all know that seniors are at a high risk of, they're vulnerable and they are at a high risk of getting scammed. And you don't want just to Google or go on, care.com or whatever, and just like hope and pray that the person that you're hiring is going to be okay and like not rob your parent blind or hurt them in any kind of way. When you work with professionals, I can't stress enough the value of our trusted network that we refer our clients to, because then you don't have the worries that you would if you did this blindly, right?
Exactly. It is when I get a call. And matter of fact, Annalee, we had a discussion about this not too long ago, where a potential referral came to me, and I forwarded it on to you because it was a family in crisis. I was able to handle some of the basic questions and to give some support but the important thing is I knew exactly what they were talking about. They said those magic keywords: overwhelmed, too much on my plate, I don't have enough time. And this probably sounds like all of your listeners.
Yep.
Everyone is overwhelmed, too much on your plate, I don't have enough time. I'm managing a household, 3 cars, 2 dogs, 3 children. My husband or partner or spouse is constantly traveling. And now I'm trying to help, mom or dad or mother-in-law or father-in-law. And I can only be so many places at one time. And eventually one thing or many things fall through the cracks.
And something's going to give,
Something's going to give. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's usually their health, their relationships. I mean, I know how that is too. When both of my parents had their medical crises back to back, me trying to juggle both of my businesses and my parents during the pandemic was really, really hard,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of time. And, the only thing that I could keep on my schedule for my businesses was stuff that's actually going to be billable time, because I still have to support myself and be able to
Yeah.
make payroll for my team and stuff like that. Right. But, something has to give. And you know what it tends to be? It's different for everybody. But for me, I didn't have energy for my relationship with my boyfriend. I'm just exhausted. So by the time I get to see him, I got like nothing left to give,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just want peace and quiet. I just want to be alone. And that's not healthy for a person, and it's not healthy for a relationship. Caregiving can be very, very, very lonely if you don't
And,
have enough supports in place, or you're in the midst of a pandemic, and we're not out of this pandemic.
no, and up here in the Northeast, it's this new variant is coming
Mhm.
around fast and furious, and you're absolutely right. We're not out of it, and just circling back around to about taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of not only our own personal needs and family, but more our clients. Is You were sharing about the added pressure, the stress it could develop into if there's no support and it's just one family member doing the caregiving. It could develop into a stroke or heart attack
Mhm.
because the stress that I
Yeah.
see when I'm working with families that are trying to handle on their own. And I share, listen, there are resources, there are absolute resources available to you. Please take advantage of them. Yes, I know it does cost some money, but it's money worth being spent, because the time with your loved one is just priceless.
Right.
Can't put a dollar figure on that.
You can't. And you can't afford not to put a plan in place. You can't afford not to have the right supports in place, because there's no reason for family relationships to fall apart. There shouldn't be a reason for people to get burned out if they're willing to invest in services like you offer, services like I offer. Yeah, it's going to cost money, but you can't afford not to, because how much money are these families spending in airfare or travel time with gas at $5 a gallon? You can't afford not to make sure that you have an aging plan. You can't afford not to retain professionals that you can trust to take care of all of these things, because you know what we all want? We don't want to go over to dad's every Saturday to do laundry and give him a bath and like go get milk and denture cream and depend. We want to like hang out with dad and be like sons and daughters with our parents. We don't want to have to do all these tasks. Every single one of my clients, that's what they say. I just want to be the daughter. I want to be the son. I felt the same way. Here I'm coordinating care, I'm patient advocacy. You can hire that out to professionals to do that,
And
right?
what you're sharing is exactly what I share with a potential referral or client is, what is your time worth? I
Mhm.
help families bridge that gap of time so that they can manage themselves, their own family, while they know mom, dad, auntie, uncle are in good hands and out um, doing what they need to do. And a keyword that I love to use is, I help keep their aging loved ones independent.
Yeah.
Independence is huge with aging loved ones, because
Mhm.
when they stop driving, they feel their independence is going away.
Oh, sure.
But when they hire our services, they still have their independence because they can go where they want, when they want, how they want. If they want to stop for a cup of coffee, we stop for a cup of coffee. If we're going for routine blood work or a routine doctor's appointment, and then sometimes then the family members just call in. It's not
Mhm.
because they don't love their aging loved ones. It's because they're trying to manage their own family
Yep.
unit. And that's where we come in and we help bridge that gap of time with families and aging loved ones.
Well, and this is what I say literally 20 times a day, because I have like meetings all day long and all night long. This is what I say literally, probably, I'm not kidding, 20 times a day. Moms and dads' goals have, now I've been working with families for 30 years. So I have quite a few data points for a baseline, right? And I can
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
in 30 years, things have not changed. Moms and dads want to age in place at home and they don't want to be a burden on their kids. Those are the two goals nearly every single elderly couple that I've ever worked with or elderly person that I've ever worked with. When I ask them, what are your goals as you age? It is the exact same thing 99.999% of the time. When I ask the adult kids, what are your goals for yourselves and what are your goals for your parents? We all want the same thing. We want our parents to be safe. We want our parents to be happy. We want them to be treated with dignity and respect. And we want them to have the best quality care or services available to them. So the only way to marry moms and dads' goals and marry the adult kids' goals is you have to have an aging plan and you have to have the right teammates working on the team so that everybody's goals are met. 30 years ago, it was different because everybody lived down the street from each other, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, dad's got 2 doctor's appointments this month. No problem, because they all lived in the same zip code. But as families started moving away from each other, that's why I went virtual right away when I opened up my doors, when I put my shingle on my Care Right shingle. I'm like, why just serve the Milwaukee market? Because these families are everywhere. And so when families started moving away from each other, it got really hard to be a caregiver, because if dad's in Tucson, Arizona, and son is in Boston, Massachusetts, you don't just get there in 2 hours. It's not like just driving down the street. You got to like take off work. You got to book a flight. And when you get those crisis calls, airfare is not $69 on Frontier. It's $1,000. And now, if I don't know if you've ever looked at pricing for airfare lately,
No,
it's
I
like
haven't.
super high.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like super high. And so, it's expensive to not have a plan. It's expensive to not have professionals on your team so that you all can be supportive.
I
So,
I like to share an example with the on the podcast, and I think and feel it'll be relatable to the people that we are reaching. So at my network, at the networking events we go to, we do a elevator pitch, a commercial.
yeah.
What would be a great referral for us this week? So I'd like to give a little bit of it.
Mhm.
So I started out with overwhelmed, too much on your plate. You don't have enough time. I'm at wit's ends. I just had a newborn. My family has left to go back home. My friends say that they'll help me. My neighbors say that they'll help me, but no one's around. I'm afraid to make the phone call. And then when they do show up, you almost feel obligated. You almost feel like things need to be reciprocated. By hiring the 25th hour concierge service to help you do those errands and chores and runabouts, can take that feeling out of the equation. What is that worth to you? So that if a family member does come over or a friend comes over, right? And there's no errands that need to be done, it's all handled, and it's a trusted family member or friend or neighbor, and they are watching your newborn and giving you an opportunity to take a nap. Very relatable to families with aging loved ones.
Yeah.
Right? So that was my ask in my networking meeting. And it's very, it hits a nerve, it hits a point. It's very relatable and transferable to families with aging loved ones.
Very
So
much.
if it sounds like you and you're in that boat, Narrin Schwartz at 25th Hour Concierge Service. If you're not in New Jersey, I would welcome the opportunity to have a conversation with you to help you find the right resource in your town or in your market.
Yeah. Yeah. So well done, Narrin. You're this like pro at these podcasts. And I think that these go well because we speak from the heart.
Exactly.
And it's just a conversation that two friends are having that help families across the country, that help families. And we're just two people that are in business for the right reason, because we want to help people. We want to serve families, and
Exactly.
in our own respective ways. And so I just want to say a huge thank you for being on the podcast. And this is when we were talking about like the meat of working with professionals that have that trusted network, like that's what's so cool, because we're like friends. We know each other personally. We know,
Yes.
We've been, the dog journey together, so that's so cool that when you know people that well, you feel comfortable working together because you're going to communicate well with each other, and you can trust each other. And
Absolutely. And that's why I also, work with you and Care Right Incorporated. And because of our long relationship and long distance relationship and communicating, even just, picking up a phone a month later, we could just pick up where we left off. But the thing is to know that I have a resource like Care Right Incorporated is huge. And I thank you, Annalee, for giving me the opportunity to share some time with you.
Well, thank you, Narrin. And, just thank you for all you do. I am not surprised when you said that your clients call you their Jewish angel, all the way up to Batman. That did not surprise me at all.
I'm the Cape Crusader.
So very good. Thank you again, Narrin. I am so glad that you were able to carve out some time, because I know that you're super busy too. The pandemic for me, it just like Care Right was already chugging along very, very well with families across the country, but it seems like it took a pandemic to wake families up, or COVID or variants to wake families up and say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with mom and dad? They weren't doing well at home before, or the care that they were getting in the facility that they're in wasn't great before. And now with the pandemic, it's even worse. So my business just like went because it took a pandemic when families couldn't easily check in on their parents anymore. And they, a lot of people in the 80s and 90s and 100-year-old, they might not be on Zoom or have cell phones or even have internet. So they're like, how are we going to do this? So how are we going to make sure that they're safe, healthy, and happy and have the care that they need? So if anyone listening to this is in that boat of wondering, what are we going to do to make sure that mom and dad are safe, healthy, and happy, and getting the best quality supports that they can, that's your cue. So super duper. Thank you so much, Narrin. I'll keep everybody posted on when this goes live in our newsletter stuff. So again, Narrin Schwartz with the 25th Hour Concierge up in New Jersey. Reach out to him if you have questions, or looking for someone like Narrin in your neck of the woods. He's here for a resource. So
I'll be glad to help.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Annalee.
Thank you for tuning in to the Care Right podcast. We hope today's discussion has provided you with valuable insights. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our podcast with others who might find it helpful. Remember, Care Right is more than just a podcast. It's a community dedicated to supporting family caregivers with comprehensive care planning, crisis management, and resources for every stage of aging. Stay connected with us for future episodes as we continue to explore essential topics in aging planning, elder care, and financial planning. Until next time, take care, plan wisely, and remember, you're not alone in your caregiving journey.